Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited today to bring you my first iPhone editing tutorial, and this is something that's been on my heart for a long time, and it's the most asked question that I get, so I am thrilled to bring this to you today. And I am going to be going over outdoor photos because they're my favorite, and I think that they're a great representation of how I touch on every photo that I edit, because there's a ton of color control, contrast curves, everything in between. So I'm so excited. I am gonna give it to you straight in terms of the apps I'm using right now and the process that I've been loving. So I am gonna go ahead and hop in the tutorial, and I will see you on the other side.
Alright, so jumping right in, I am going to open up VSCO, which I like to use for backup storage. I love cropping in this app, and I love that you can see all your favorite images at first glance, and I just really love their studio feature. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our first edit, which is going to turn into a very golden peachy pink, and I'm really excited to show you. So I'll start out in Tools, and what I'm going to do first is fix the Y skew so that our houses on the left are straight up and down. Click OK. And then I think I'm just going to hop into crop and go into 4:5 because Instagram will automatically do this for you if you didn't before. So having control over this ratio is important if you're really particular about your cropping. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Got a good rule of thirds going on in this one. And I think I'm actually going to straighten. I'm very particular about my horizon lines. Okay, so I am happy with that. I'm gonna hit save and save to camera roll. Always actual size, always go the biggest option you can because it'll just downgrade the quality if not, and you always want the highest of resolutions. So from there, I am going to take this into a color story, which is my primary app. And I like to start out with filters and adjust from there. So I know right off the bat I want to go into seasons, which is one of my favorites right now, and it's just so pretty. It's such an awesome pack for outdoors, and I particularly love February for something like this, and just immediately it starts to glow and become vibrant without even saturating. So I am going to take it down just a little bit. I actually never go 100% with filters because I just love to have that control in terms of every color that's going on, and I really analyze it while I'm adjusting, and I think that just taking a few moments to really see what's going on in terms of every color in the photo is a huge game changer. So I'm going to have that at about 70 or 80% for this image. Click OK. And then from there, I think I'm going to go into Tools and just brighten this a little bit. Just a hair, just onesies and twosies. And then I'm going to click OK, and then I want to go a little bit warmer. So I'm just going to bring the temperature up, again, just so slightly, so slightly, and click OK, and then I even want a little bit of purple in this one too. And click OK. So now I am going to review, and I think I'm actually going to add some color fog, because I want the sky to be a little bit more pink. So with this, it's just so customizable in terms of how harsh and layering. You can really get specific with the colors, and this is just my fingers going back and forth, kind of adjusting the height and the angle. You can pull it down, you can pull it up. It's so easy. So I'm just gonna give that to the corner a little bit, and then go in with the peony shade, which is more of a purple pink. And I'm going to take it down a little bit, just like before. And then I'll go in with the white because it just really settles it down a little bit and makes it look a little bit more natural, in my opinion. I always end up putting white over any color fog I do. So I'm going to hit OK, and I am happy with that. So just to give you an idea, this is before and after in a color story. I'm going to hit review, and now we're ready to save and finish. So now I am going to take this into Snapseed for a tiny bit of fine tuning. And in Snapseed, they have this thing called the selective tool. And what this does is enables you to click the screen and drag around this little dart, and you can pick a color. Essentially, it's like a color picker if you're familiar with Photoshop. And you can just squeeze with your fingers like you're zooming in on a picture. Wherever the red area is, that's what it's going to be affecting. So I know that any color in this image and area that's this like rusty orange color is going to be affected with either brightness, contrast, saturation, or structure. And what I like to do is desaturate just to give it a little bit of more of a realistic touch, and just really go lightly here, and then brightness a little bit, and then we'll do a tiny bit of contrast too. And then I'm just going to get really specific here, and I see like a really bright red that I want to desaturate a little bit. I usually go about a quarter or less. And then in the sand, I'm going to select the wet sand area, and I'm just going to bring it up in brightness and in contrast. Maybe even a little bit more. And then in the water, I've kind of selected the really off-white pale pink, and I'm just going to bring that up a tiny bit with the brightness and a pretty good amount with the saturation. And I just really love that subtle rose gold color in the water. And over here we have a little bit of gray blue. It's super subtle, but I just want to see if anything comes from that, and it does. So okay, those are our selective tools, and those will stay there if you click check mark. And just to give you an idea of before and after, that's before, after, before, and after. And then the one other thing I like to do recently is go to Tune Image and go down to Ambiance. And I really love to bump this up to about 20. As you can see on the top of the screen, I'm going plus 20. And this really just brings out every little detail, and I love the way this looks. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I have before and after. Okay, I'm ready to export this. And I just do export as JPEG, so that's how I do it. And then I am going to take this into Afterlight as a last step. And I will say use this picture, please. Go into Tools, Adjustments, and I am going to hit the Clarify button. And you have to be really careful with this feature because it can end up looking a little wild if you go too high. I never go past 20. And with this one, I think I'm going to take it to about a 15 and click OK, and then I'll show you the difference. It just kind of took it from really vibrant to much more crisp. I get a lot of questions about the crispness in my photos, and this is the tool I like to use for that. There's also a clarity tool in a color story. Depending on the image, I will use either one of those tools. So I like this one for this image in particular. And again, I'm saving at the maximum resolution. So I think that one is done. So I'm back in VSCO, and I just wanted to give you an idea of the before and after. So this is what we started out with when we exported our crop, and then this is what we ended up with. Before and after. Okay, so I've just imported our second image into VSCO, and I'm gonna go ahead and start with the crop again, 4x5. I want to take out that crane on the left and go all the way down to give that another rule of thirds crop, which is always easy on the eyes. And then I'm just going to straighten it a little bit here. And I think we're good. So I am going to export this and bring it into a color story. So I am going to start in filters here and go straight into seasons. And I immediately know that I'm gonna apply March because, because it just gives off such a vibrant vibe, and I love how crisp it is. It just looks incredible with a lot of different kinds of pictures. So these greens are exactly what I'm going for, and I'm gonna have that at about a 75. So I'll click OK. And then from there, I want to go into color fog. And I've actually really been loving the mint color for blue sky photos. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply that at about 75, maybe 60, and hit OK. And then I wanna go into curves, which are so customizable and awesome if you want to do really itty bitty edits in terms of detailing. So with the shadows here, I'm just going to bring this over a little bit, and that's going to deepen those dark greens at the bottom of the image. And then this middle dot, I'm going to bring up just a tiny bit, and that's going to bring an overall brightness to the midtones. And then this highlight up here in the right hand corner, I'm just going to bring down a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. So there's my curve, and essentially this just brightens and deepens the shadows and gives an overall really, really sweet effect. Here's before and after with that one in a color story. And now I'm ready to take it into Snapseed. So jumping into Snapseed, I am going to go to Tune Image and do the little ambiance trick I've been telling you about. And before I go one way or the other, I just like to see what this does to any given image. And with this one, I think I want to go to the right and give it more of an overall lift. And again, 20 just seems to be the right number for me. So I'll go back into tools from there, go to our selective button, and I'm going to hit the sky with a little bit of desaturation. And a little bit of brightness. And I sometimes go back and forth like this just to see where I'm at. You can click it again, go back in. I love this tool so much. And I'm even going to do a little bit of destructuring. You can see it says structure there. I really love this tool because it gets rid of any weird graininess that might be in the sky, and we really want a clear image. So I'm going to hit OK with that. And then I think I'm even going to go in a second time with selective. And I want to just grab this brown color here in these cliffs and select that and get really precise with this area and bring it down in brightness, bring it up in contrast, and then a little bit of saturation. Maybe a lot. I really like that. And then I'm gonna go over to this green area and really make that pop. Give it more of a lush vibe on the beach. And then over here, same thing with the tan. I just really want that to pop over there. And you really have to get precise because you don't want to hit the sky or the water. So I'm just going to go down in brightness and then saturation. Okay. before, after. And now I want to go into the blue right here and select, make sure the sky isn't being selected, and go down to saturation and bring it down just a little bit and then brighten it quite a bit. And then with that, I think structure as well, just to give the water a little bit more edge. And then the greens, kind of the same thing, but contrast right here. And a little bit of desaturation, and I'm actually gonna bring it down just a little bit with the brightness. And that is looking pretty cool. And then I'm gonna go into the white right here, have that selected, and come down a little bit with brightness because it's looking a little hot in terms of exposure. And then I'm gonna go down with the saturation so it's this really bright white, and then up with the structure because it has that really cool texture to it. And then I click OK. And now I'm just kind of analyzing, and now that I'm looking at it, I kind of want the sky to be a little bit more desaturated. And I'll go back and forth a lot with this and really make sure it's exactly what I want to do so that I don't have to come back into the app later with another export, because every time you export an image, it lowers the quality, so you really want to be careful with that. So I really like that. I think that's good. I'm just going to brighten it a little bit too. I'm going to go a little bit wider. Okay, I like that. So before and after. Okay, ready to export. Now I'm going to bring this into Afterlight and kind of give it the same treatment as our last edit with the clarify. And with this, I think I just need about 10 because our details have really popped already, but I just want to give it that extra oomph. And there's before and after. And then I even want to go in and desaturate just a tiny bit, maybe 6. Okay, and then I want to warm it up a little bit. Maybe to about a 15, 16. Okay, and that's before and after. So here's our before, and here's the treatment. Okay, so jumping into our last photo, I'm doing something a little bit different and taking you up into the mountains for something a little bit darker and moodier, but we're really gonna brighten it up. So I've imported it into VSCO, and I'm gonna go ahead and crop as usual, 4x5. I'm gonna crop out this thing on the right and then center the cabin. This is in beautiful Durango, Colorado, and probably the prettiest place on earth. So I'm gonna hit OK, and I think after analyzing, I'm gonna take it up just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay, that's better. Let's export. Now we're just jumping into a color story. So jumping into filters, I am gonna go ahead and start with Weekend, which is the pack I created for a color story, and I know it like the back of my hand, so it's pretty convenient when I wanna edit something with it. And I think I'm gonna go with Seafoam for this because the greens really pop. And it keeps the blues and the browns really natural looking, but it just gives the greens an extra vibrancy. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go into Flashes of Delight, which is another favorite of mine. And I'm going to go over to Lola. I already know. And it just reiterates the green theory. I just love these undertones that this gives off. And I'm going to do that at about a 40. And click OK. And now I'm just going to take it into Tools to jump into Curves, and with this one I just really want an overall brightness and contrast, so I'm going to bring up the midtones just a little bit, and then I'm going to click this line right here where that anchor point was just added on, and you can do it the same thing down here. If you just tap the line, a new anchor point will appear, and this just allows you to get extra detailed with your curves. So I'm going to take this down just a little bit, and then along with that, I'm going to bring the highlights down too, because the clouds are a little overexposed, but not enough to take away from the image. So I'm also going to bring, I think, this up a little bit actually, and then this over just a tiny bit, and I think that's good. So I'm going to click OK. So I'm actually going to go back into filters from here, and sometimes I just see the image and I decide to go back in and add a little something more after I've done my adjustments. And I kind of want to apply February simply because the yellows really pop and the warmth of the cabin really gets drawn out. And I just really love the look of this. So I'm going to give it about a 40, and that's good. And I think we're ready to export to Snapseed. Okay, so I've just opened this up in Snapseed, and I'm going to go right into Tools, Tune Image, and Ambiance to 20. Okay, and now I'm going to get really specific with the selective tools and start to make every color and part of this image just illuminate. So I'm going in here, contrast, saturation, and then again right here, brightness, contrast, saturation, and then I think I'm actually going to move this to the actual brown portion. That's much better. And then plus selective, brightness, contrast, and a little bit of saturation. And then I just want to get these trees right here a little bit brighter, contrast. And then I'm just going to keep going around and hit every part that I want to have really pop. So just going through here, contrast, adding another right here, and then going into the house and really giving it more life. Saturation, and then I just want to go into the dark part. Sometimes it'll max you out with how many selective buttons you can do at once, so I'm going to hit OK and then go back into Tools and then start again. Okay, so I want to select the dark part of the house and just take it up a tiny, tiny bit like that, and then again on the other side. And then I want to get some more yellow out of this, so just brightening there, contrast, and then go back into the greens and take it down just a little bit, make it look a little bit more natural. Okay, I think the last thing I want to do with selective is really make these wildflowers pop because it's such a great contrast of white. There we go. Yep. And then I think even one more here and contrast. That's better. That's what I was looking for. And then one more on the house if we're getting picky. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Before and after in Snapseed, and that just really sealed the deal for me. So I'm going to export and bring it into Afterlight. Okay, so now we're in Afterlight, and I'm just going to hit my clarify button, and with this I just want to take it to about a 20. And it just really brings out those extra details. That's before and after, and it's just really brightened up. And now I want to saturate just a tiny, tiny bit, just like very, very fine tuning to about a 10 or 11. And then I think that's done. So I'm gonna hit done, save, okay. Just bringing it back into VSCO here to show you before and after. So here is our original crop, and that's the after, before and after.
All right, that is it. I want to thank you so much for watching today, and if you have any questions at all, feel free to direct message me on Instagram or leave your inquiry in the comments perhaps. I want to just give you guys as much info as I can provide in terms of my process, so please let me know what you think. I will be sure to do much more of these as the weeks progress because damn, I love it. So if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. I will see you very, very soon. Bye. Bye.